All right, let's get into it.
It's almost actually Friday.
This might be the closest we've got.
So these come out on Friday, but usually we record them on Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever. So
Yeah, we're getting close this one.
yeah.
But welcome back everybody to another episode of Warfighter Tobacco Podcast. I'm John. I got it right this time. That's Scott. Justin's our producer, and we got a guest today. We got Jody with Black Label.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, man. We've only had a couple guests in the industry so far.
Yeah.
But
that's what we want to do. So what we want to do, we either focus on like the veteran guest or the cigar industry guest. So when we get somebody who's both, it's really cool. I guess introduce yourself. Where'd you grow up and that kind of thing.
All right, I'm Jody Haley with Oveja Negra Brands, Black Label Trading Company, Blackworks, listed in Emilio. Been with the company about 2.5 years now. I'm originally from the huge town of Pascagoula, Mississippi.
Okay.
Lived there till I was 19 years old, and Uncle Sam brought me to Texas. I've been here since, except for a couple of years.
yeah.
Nice. So you joined the Army. We were talking earlier.
Yes.
And what was your MOS?
Chemical Operations Specialist. That's
Okay.
a fancy way of saying NBC NCO.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure you loved everyone you had in every unit.
I think all of ours, none of them were actually the
No,
MOS.
they were 11 Bravos that just went to school. They did like a 3-day crash course, and they're like, okay, you're the new NBC dude.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, awesome. I'm going to stop the world.
Well, I think when I was in, because I was in a little bit before y'all, it was an actual MOS that just covered nuclear, biological, and chemical.
Yeah.
But they kind of dissolved that into some other MOSs. So I don't know if
So we actually, when we deployed in 2003, we had an NBC person actually attached to our battalion, and they were in one of those Fox vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like legit NBC people. And so it was like unique for us to have somebody who kind of knew what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't prevent us from doing anything like they should have.
No, we were their security more or less, and they were looking for, big NBC things.
They weren't going to get out of that Fox vehicle. That's riding in style.
Oh yeah, they were digging it. That's for sure. Yeah. I do have. So you were an NBC. Okay, so I got 2 NBC stories, and I know I've told them on the podcast, so I'll condense them a little bit. But every year before we deployed, we had to do the NBC chamber.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a refresher, right? And back in our day,
back in my day, they had enough bullshit in there where you couldn't see across the room.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you see, like, my kids go to basic training and they show me the video, and it's like as cloudy as this with us smoking cigars in it. And I'm like, oh, it's fucking bullshit. It's bullshit.
I could see the haze.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm a scout sniper, and we road marched out to where our NBC chamber was, and we went and shot. We did some shooting. Went to the NBC chamber, but I'm with like professional, squared away people, right? I thought. Well, we road march out. We do a little obstacle course, shoot this little course or whatever, and then walk over to the NBC chamber. And I'm going in with my scout or with my sniper section, and the guy behind me, he like grabs my shoulder and throws me to the side and goes running out like a bitch. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm embarrassed because he's one of my guys, I'm like, I don't know what's going on, like usually he can control himself. But we get outside, and he went commando on the road march, and he ripped the crotch of his pants open on the obstacle course.
It hits that sweat and you're done.
So his balls were on fire. We got out there. He's dumping canteens of water on himself.
That doesn't help.
Yeah. But he was in pain. And so we kind of understood it when we got out there and we saw that.
Yeah.
But at the time it was happening, I don't think, obviously he wasn't expecting it. And, it is really bad when your pores open up and that shit gets in your pores. But
right.
Yeah. And then the other one's when, we got NBC attacked, and John and I were both there. You go ahead and tell that one.
We just took the airfield to Anashaf in southern Iraq, and I think it was that next morning, maybe.
We're about 3 weeks into our like from Kuwait to Iraq, like 3 or 4 weeks in?
No, not even at this point. We're like a couple days.
Okay.
We were like 3 days in maybe.
Oh, okay.
Because we spent a night in the desert, and then I think might have been this was day 3 maybe.
Oh yeah.
And so we're sitting there. We secured the airfield. We got all of our platoon and gun teams and everything pulling security and doing what we need to do. And a lone mortar comes in behind our line, lands on the airfield. Big puff of smoke comes up. No explosion.
I don't know if it was a mortar.
Yeah, it was a mortar.
I thought it was like a rocket or some shit.
No,
Okay.
it was a mortar. And so as soon as it hit and it didn't explode and just smoke, and then immediately gas, and everybody freaking the fuck out.
And we're already in our J list. Like we're
Tops and
already
bottoms.
Yeah.
But we don't have our mask on. We don't have anything like that. And so I remember my AG was panicking, for lack of better words, because he couldn't get his mask out on his face. And like we've trained it, I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've done it 5,000 times before we deploy. The one time it counts, and he's freaking the fuck out, and we're all laughing at
And the
him.
longer it's taking him, the more he's freaking out. The more he's freaking out, the longer it's taking him.
And we're just laughing because it's like, dude, this is it, man. Like, there's nothing you can do at this point, like it's either it's inert or we're fucked. And so everybody puts all their shit on, and we're waiting, and everybody's gas mask bag has an NBC test kit in it.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to, pop your test kit, and if it's clear, then you can take your shit off. Everybody in the entire platoon, all of our test kits are broke.
because we were in,
we're running around and doing
things,
shit and air assaults and all kinds of stuff. So
not
they all just
one
got beat
person-
up and broke.
So what's the procedure?
For
Demasking.
If you don't have any test kits,
you're gonna have to wait till somebody comes in and gives the all clear.
Or the infantry standard.
so we get the what's the word they use for it?
The least, or the most expendable or least,
Yeah, the least combat effective person in the platoon.
Yeah.
pretty much the most expendable private.
Yeah. Okay.
You have him-
Who's the biggest shit bag? Get over here.
He cracks it first. Well, procedure for this is you take his weapon away before you tell him this. So they have like a meeting, the lieutenant and all the squad leaders and team leaders and shit. Well, the lieutenant goes, and I think the platoon sergeant, or maybe just the squad leader, I don't remember. But they walk up to this kid. Hey, can I see your weapon? He's like, sure. Hands him his, and
Just turns around and walks
lieutenant
away.
just walks away with it. Right?
Doesn't say a word.
And the squad leader, platoon sergeant, whoever's like, okay, we need you to crack your mask. And he's like, what the fuck?
Just the eyes are just like, what?
It was obviously nothing, or we wouldn't be laughing about it.
Yeah.
But we practiced. That was the one Army shit that we went over that I'm like, oh my God, I'll never use this in my life.
Right.
Never will we be in a position where we have to have the least valuable person crack their mask. It's just not going to happen.
Because when you train it and they're like, so then we got to find the shit bag and he needs to take his mask off and then we got to see if he dies. And everyone's like, right. No.
And I remember thinking when we were going over that, like, this will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of an MNC attack and this is never going to happen. And sure as shit it did. But
Yeah. Kind of set the tone for the deployment.
Yeah, being NBC, we dealt with that stuff. I mean, like when y'all went through basic training, y'all went through the CS chamber to to verify your mask and to show that you know how to do all the procedures.
it's supposed to build confidence in your
clear
equipment,
it
right?
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we didn't do that.
Oh,
They marched us. We were in the field for our first time we went to the field for the weekend or whatever. And they told us to all take out our mask. I didn't know, being NBC, basic training, AIT, we did the one station unit training.
Yep.
If they had taken all the stuff out of our mask that made it effective.
oh,
So they lined us up at one end of a field. They pop about a dozen CS grenades.
which
Yeah.
I think
throughout this field.
I think are just as effective.
And they just said, march to the other side of the field. And if your mask isn't working, then find one of the drill sergeants. Nobody's mask worked. They get back into the field. And this is like the size of a football field. There's people running into each other. They're dropping to their knees. They're crying. And nobody's mask had filters or valves or anything in it. And then they taught us how to put your mask together.
That's
correctly.
awesome.
That is awesome.
And then, I remember another time, I think it was in AIT, because we had, the same drill sergeants and everything. If anybody fell asleep, watch or anything, we had these two guys in their foxhole or whatever, and they had like the overnight watch, like the 50 cal position.
Yeah.
And that morning, the drill sergeants went and they kind of gathered everybody. They're like, "Come watch these two idiots," and they're just in there, they're back, mouths wide open, and he just popped a couple of grenades and dropped it down in the hole.
Oh,
and they just, woken up from a dead sleep, chugging on CS gas.
see, that's why they never gave.
So
that to us.
you went in your basic? Is everybody was NBC?
Yeah, everybody was NBC.
Oh,
and it was
That's perfect. Yeah.
one station unit training. So
Right.
our transition from basic training to AIT,
Yeah. Same as him.
we changed the flag and we just kept going the next
That's
day.
it. You woke up on a Monday and they said, "Welcome to AIT, front
Yeah.
lean arrest position." And
Yeah,
boom,
basically.
you're
So we had the same drill sergeants, the same rules. It was
Right.
like being in basic training for 21, 22 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rules didn't change much.
No.
Any other funny NBC stories? That was a good one.
Like when I was in Germany, when I got promoted to E5, I ran the NBC, chamber for the battalion. So
Oh, nice.
anytime, a squad or a company or whatever wanted to get their people qualified for the year, I would go set the whole thing up and basically run the whole thing. But I'd gotten so used to it. You get
You get used.
Yeah.
you get
I was
used
gonna
to how to
ask.
breathe. It still sucks like a bitch, but you
Yeah.
learn how to control, short, shallow breaths, don't
Right.
touch anything. And yeah, so I would have a couple of specialists or privates or whatever that were helping. And I would walk in and, they'd have somebody inside, somebody outside, but I would walk in with the group, no NBC gear on whatsoever. And I'd walk in, it'd be all hazy. And I'd be like, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to do. This specialist here is going to run you through a block of instructions and this and that. And they're going to tell you to take your masks off and take a breath or whatever. And they would all be like, nothing in here. That guy's
Right.
conversation. And then as soon as I could hear when they would tell them to take their mask off and take a breath, and you could hear people hitting the walls and
Yeah.
running out. And yeah, that used to be amusing to watch them coming out just all jacked.
How do you get used to it? Because my drill sergeants were the same way.
It's just,
When I went to basic training, I swear to God, they didn't have their shit on in there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck? Like at first you're like, okay, whatever. And then at the end of it, you're like, how the fuck?
yeah, you don't really get used to it. You just, you learn, you teach yourself how to deal with it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
Like the worst thing you can do is take a deep breath. And usually the people hit that they feel that and they're like,
Yeah.
and don't touch anything.
Right.
The minute you touch your eyes, your lips,
yeah,
your face,
yeah.
it makes it 10 times worse.
Where were we at where the exit to the gas chamber, there was a tree like 5 feet outside the door?
That had to be basic, I think.
I think it was.
Oh, maybe it was New York. When we were in New York. Did we do it in West Point? I remember this though.
I know.
And we weren't in basic together.
No, it was somewhere else, and I can't fucking remember where.
Well, it had to be across from the range.
Yeah, but I can't
Road.
remember if it was Campbell or where else it was.
I don't know where else we would have done
I
it at
don't
the
know
same time.
either. But there was a tree outside, like 5-8 feet outside the
Yeah.
exit of the gas chamber. And so you got guys that are going out there that, they got snot hanging to their knees and eyes, and their eyes are closed. They can't see shit. And they just go straight out that back door, right into that tree.
I think they probably designed those places on purpose.
I
Like,
guarantee
let's
you,
find
like,
a place. With
they
a
built the
tree.
building, and then some dude's like, I'm planting a tree right there. It's like 20 years from now, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you get into the cigar industry?
I joined Black Label in March of 2022.
Okay.
And why?
Why not?
I agree. I agree.
No, I started smoking cigars probably about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And just one of those things. Probably like a lot of people, I didn't make shit for money back then. Was smoking crap, and I would treat myself to an occasional good cigar on payday or something, and nothing was blowing me away. I was smoking all the legacy stuff you see on Cigar Aficionado and stuff. So, and then right after they came out, I tried a Last Rites from Black Label, and it blew my head off.
Yeah.
I was like, that's something different there.
Right.
That's worth 2 or 3 times the money that I've been paying. And became a fan of the brand. And over time, I'd go to events and stuff. So I met James and Derek and all those guys. And I'd mentioned to Derek several years ago, probably 5 years ago, I said, if there's ever an opportunity, because I was really getting into the cigar, I I went full geek into learning everything I could. And I told him, I said, if there was ever an opportunity where I could, fit in with a company, I said, I don't know if that would, even be a possibility. I said, I'd be interested if, the timing was right.
Right.
And then we moved to, because I used to live in the same town. He lives up in Temple, Texas. So we lived not too far from each other. So I saw him fairly often. We moved to Alabama for 3 years, moved back, and I was actually in the process of the time I was applying to go work for HEB to be part of their management team at one of the stores. It's a very lengthy interview process.
Yeah.
I think it's 4 or 5 interviews. And I just finished my second or third interview, and I was still in my dress clothes, my tie, and all that stuff. On my patio, smoking a cigar, and he sent me a text saying, hey, you got a minute for a phone call? I was like, I'd even forgot about all that other stuff. I was like, yeah. And, he called me up and he said, hey, you told me one time if there was ever an opportunity. He said, I've got one available for you, but I need an answer real quick.
Yeah.
I said, not today, but in the next day or two.
Yeah.
And he offered me the territory position for this area, and went and discussed with my wife, and she said, if you don't do it, you're a fool.
Right.
Just because you will always talk about what if. So I called him back and I said, hey, we're all in.
Yeah.
Nice.
And here I am 2.5 years later.
Nice.
Loving the hell out of it.
And where's Black Label? Where are they based out of?
So Derek runs all the U.S. operations out of his office in Temple.
Oh, in
Texas.
Temple.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then James and Angela run the other side of it from, they both live in Nicaragua full time.
Right.
So they run the factory and down there.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the brand for sure. We got into cigars.
Always smoked them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think your design work and your, the feel of the brand has always related to the way we do things.
Yeah.
We're not like, you don't take yourself too serious. You kind of try to have fun with it, and I think that's kind of what you guys go for.
Yeah. And I think it's like that with a lot of the Texas brands. They all seem to have a Texas vibe to all the, the Texas-based brands or Texas-owned brands. And so how did you guys get into the industry?
Well,
we got drunk.
Yeah. we were in the firearm industry, and we got drunk in Vegas and kind of decided to really get it done. But we were drinking at SHOT Show, and I owned a gun store at the time, and we kind of said, like, I've been thinking about doing something other than guns for a while, but we had been selling cigars in the gun shop.
Probably a year and a half.
Yeah, for a year and a half. And like, let's just do our own brand, see how it works out. And we didn't know anything about the business side of it. Like we made every mistake. But it worked out. So
far.
Yeah, so far. So
But I think that helps make a brand unique. I mean, I know that James is the same way. He, when he started Black Label, he was living in Central America full time. So
wow.
He didn't know anybody in the industry. He just knew that he loved Nicaraguan tobacco, and went all in learning about Nicaraguan tobacco without any outside influence. But I think that's something that makes brands like our brand or your brand unique, is not having that influence from outside people doing things their way, and just
I mean, we were told, as a new company, like, hey, if you want to get in the cigar industry, you have to do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, you need to have the cheapest cigar. You need to beg the stores to carry it, and I'm just like, I'm going to create a demand without the stores, and we just did it differently, and you guys are good at social media. We did a lot of social media stuff, and I think that's important. And
it's you have to have that nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. But like the first, when I sold cigars, I went to like IPCPR, and I was walking around and looking at people's social medias. I was like, hey, do you guys do social media? Yeah. How many followers do you have? Oh, okay. How long you been in the business? And it'd be like 3,000 followers with 15 years in the business. And I'm like, oh, okay. We can do this. I think
there's room.
Yeah. So, but it is an antiquated industry. And for that, I hate it and love it at the same time.
And it's funny too, because there's both extremes in the industry. Like, you have the guys that completely grasped technology and change and new stuff, and they got super nice shops or lounges, and everything's just, they're like, oh, here's our drink menu, and it's on like a tablet, You know, like there's everything's digital, not everything, but like, you know, you can tell like there's time, effort, and thought put into everything. And then you walk into another shop and it's like a dude with a notepad behind a counter on a wooden stool. And he's help yourself to anything in that room if you need it. You know what I mean? And you're just like, what? How did that just go from that to this?
Right. Yeah, that's something I appreciate though. That's why I love going on the road, because there's something out there for everybody.
Yeah,
you know,
Absolutely.
Yep.
whatever your tastes are, you're going to be able to find it with, you know,
Yep.
unless you live out in the middle of nowhere. But for anybody, if you go to somewhere, you know, even a New Braunfels, but anywhere, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, whatever, no matter what your tastes are, or what kind of lounge you're looking for, you're going to find it with a little bit of research.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's so many lounges I mean, it's just like a bar. You know what I mean? You got dive bars and you got super high-end places.
Yeah.
Same thing in the cigar.
And I thoroughly like both.
Yeah, there's definitely a time and a place for all, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
What did you do between the time you got out of the Army and into cigars?
Oh, I did all kind of stuff.
Okay.
I worked on campers for a while.
Oh, okay.
I sold cars for a few years.
Yeah.
And the majority of the time I was actually I worked for Buc-ee's. I
Oh, okay.
worked my way up from the bottom, and I was a assistant general manager for a little while.
Nice. Yeah.
That's about all I can say about that.
Yeah. You can't talk shit on our favorite beaver.
No, and I mean they have a great
Business
they have a
model.
great business set up for,
Yeah.
and it's all geared towards the consumer, which is great. That's what's making them successful. But sometimes not the easiest place to work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's anywhere probably. Yeah.
But it's nice not having to wear polo shirts or dress shirts and slacks all every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Like I like Buc-ee's, except that they have like the worst diesel fuel out of any gas station ever.
Well, it all you get what you pay for, I suppose.
It is. I've heard more people have issues with their diesel after using fuel from Buc-ee's than anywhere else. I don't know if it's just luck or if there's a actually fact behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still stop there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely what you save on the price of diesel, you spend on
Munchies.
bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I still stop there when I'm on the road because
Yeah.
you gotta have
And the cleanest bathroom.
you gotta I was
Yeah.
gonna say you gotta have a nice place to go and do your business
Yeah.
sometimes.
Cleanest bathroom.
And I've been in some real sketchy bathrooms on the road.
Right. I remember when we had when the big winter storm hit years ago, the snowpocalypse.
Yeah,
whatever
that
you
was
wanna
that
call
was
it.
like 4 months before I moved back to Texas.
And so we lost water. I had power, but I had no water at the house. And so that first morning, got up and all the toilets to get one flush. And then after that, we're like, fuck. It's a little bit later in the morning. Dave and I got in the truck. We drove down to Buc-ee's. And I'm like, I know they're open and they're working. And they were. It was nice. I appreciate you, Buc-ee's.
Never close.
Yep. Yeah. So you're based out of Temple.
Yeah, the
Ish.
company's based out of Temple.
Okay. So we're in, and do you live around that area?
I live up in New Braunfels.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I'm right down the road.
Yeah, I knew that.
I didn't know that. I live in New Braunfels.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, he told me that y'all go to the poorhouse a lot. I need to come
Yeah.
meet y'all out there for a couple of beers.
Yeah, it's been a minute since we've been there now, though.
Because it's so fucking hot.
Yeah, it's hot.
That's it. I'm a fair weather drinker now. I need air conditioning. If the climate's not right, I probably won't go. No, yeah, Poorhouse is really good. Actually, when we first moved here, we did a veteran cigar night.
It was literally as we were moving here.
Well, so there was a nonprofit that was doing it before we got here. The day we were moving here, literally driving here,
From
the
Nebraska.
first trip.
He had his truck with the trailer. I had my truck with the trailer. It's when you ran out of gas on our way up here.
Yeah, yep.
So we were like way behind schedule.
Yeah, it was like 9:30 at night by the time we rolled into
we got gas, and I think,
Big Jim hit us up.
yeah, but we got gas like right before New Braunfels, and we're like, oh, are we going to go to this, or are we just going to not?
Yeah, we're like, fuck it, let's grab a drink.
Yeah.
So we swung in, hung out, and some of our closest friends in Texas to this day, the guys that we met that night.
Yeah, like literally on the first night we were moving here. So.
But yeah, so what they were doing is they were just doing a get together for guys in the area, and so we talked with the owners of Poorhouse, and essentially they were like, yeah, we don't give a shit if you guys set up here. And so then once a month we were doing veteran cigar night till COVID hit, and then that kind of fucked everything.
Yeah,
we tried it I think once or twice after, and it wasn't the same. And but yeah,
we've been a fan ever since.
So.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't been out there in years, but it's nice that you can sit out there with the music is playing, and then you don't have to go inside to get a drink and still sit up.
And nobody cares if you smoke.
Still smoke a cigar. Yeah,
that's the best part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not that many places like that anymore.
No. We're going to Tobacco House a bunch lately, just because you can smoke and drink in it, and they have air conditioning.
Yeah,
because it's hot.
Yeah, I'll be there tonight. And another place I go to smoke cigar. Have you ever been to Guadalupe Brewing Company?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a nice setup.
Yeah,
yep.
And it's nice, and the trees have grown, so the smoking area is nice and shaded down. They got those tarps up.
That's actually one of the closest bars to the new property.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah. I know where that's at.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's a cool little place. I went there for the first time a couple of years ago, and they had some. I can't remember what the fuck they were doing. Some big event, and then they had like a canine group that was there and all kinds of stuff.
That's right. Get the mead.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's this brewery in New Braunfels," and then they send me the address. I'm looking on the map, and I'm like, "What? This is the middle of nowhere."
Oh, you'll drive right by it if you're not looking.
Yeah. Yep. Thankfully they were doing an event, or else I would have missed it. Because I mean, there were cars fucking everywhere. But yeah, that was a cool little spot.
What are we smoking right now?
This is the 2024 Bishop's Blend.
It's delicious.
Yeah, I like this a lot.
I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said it's a 2024. So do you guys do yearly releases of all your blends?
So this is one of our limited releases, which we do.
Okay.
Usually around 4 a year. Some of them are pretty much every year. Some of them come and go. Let them rest and come out with new stuff. But the Bishops has been pretty steady. I think it's been every year. Just last year was a different. They changed the wrapper on it and called it Novembialis. But
okay.
If I'm not mistaken, it was the second LE they ever did. But they're different from year to year. James calls them the vintage. It's a 2024 vintage. Because he instead of changing the blend to be the same cigar every year, he uses the same blend and
just nature taste.
However, to change that tobacco for that growing season.
Oh, right.
It's going to change the cigar a little bit, so he just lets it be what it's going to be that year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like a set of like all the different years?
We had the closest thing we had to that is last year we put out a thing called Anthology album.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And that was a collection because last year was the 10th anniversary of Black Label Trading Company. And that was a collection of all the special releases from Black Label Trading Company.
Okay.
From the first 10 years. So it had every LE that had come out since 2013 in that.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we do our Victory is kind of our limited one, and then every new edition that we release, we change the Vitola.
Okay.
Keep the same blend and change the Vitola, but yeah.
And when did you guys start as a company?
2015.
Okay.
16.
16?
Yeah. 16. But we didn't think about it. So like all those first and second edition Victory cigars that we did, I think I have like 3 first edition cigars in my humidor at home, and that's it. Like,
well, that's what was neat about that anthology album is it was all the cigars, but he made them last year.
Okay.
Just for that box. It wasn't old stock or anything.
Nice.
It was brand new ones. So he only made, a couple of thousand of
each.
all of these different cigars just to put in that box.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice. Yeah, it's expensive to make a bunch of cigars and then stash them for 10 years.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, it'd probably be a great marketing thing, but you have to get to the 10-year mark at that point.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all are right around the corner.
Yeah. No.
We're getting there. Yeah.
We're trying to figure out our 10th anniversary cigar, what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, as long as it takes, it's time to start thinking about that now.
Yeah. Well, we started, I don't know, probably 3-4 months ago, brainstorming and blending and all that kind of fun stuff. It's kind of one of those, it's like, this has to be a fucking damn good cigar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what it looks like, but it's got to be fucking good.
So have you been down to Nicaragua?
I've been once. We had our annual company meeting at the factory last year.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that I get to go back.
Yeah.
We do our factory tours every year, 3 or 4 of those. So I'd like to join one of those just so I can get a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
And go see the fields and the barns and all
Right.
that. So I haven't seen any of that stuff yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, the few days that I spent down there, I loved it. It's to be such a poor and, that kind of country is a very romantic,
Right.
setting. It's
The people are so nice too.
it's amazing how to have so little, how happy they all are.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I think countries like ours and other, the top countries in the world, I think we're all spoiled a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. And
It's never enough.
yeah, and we don't really realize it, I think. is
No,
the
we're
problem.
oblivious.
So I just brought my boys down to Nicaragua a couple weeks ago. My youngest two, 19 and 16. So they got to see the factory and all that stuff. And then we went to San Juan del Sur for a couple days and they had a good time. So
Yeah, I heard a quote the other day. We were talking about, how poor the country is and how happy the people are that are there. And it was, they're so sad. The only thing that they have is money. Like,
Well, it's just, like when I'm home here, you're always trying to find something to watch on television or
yeah.
some music listen to or this or that. You're trying to find something to occupy your time. When I was there, I didn't think about any of that stuff. I didn't think about going and watching television or whatever. I was just happy just sitting and enjoying a cigar and just watching.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's different. I think I turned the TV on once in Nicaragua, out of all the times I've been down there. And I realized very quickly that was a bad idea because I don't speak Spanish and they don't speak English. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I think it was the hotel across from the airport. That was it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was the only time I ever turned the TV on in the whole country.
Yeah, I stayed one night there.
Yeah.
That Best Western.
Yep.
It's a cool little setup.
It's the best Western you're going to find, I
No
think.
kidding.
So,
Yeah. No, it's Nicaragua was a lot of fun. It's we talk about it a lot. Like if you ever get the opportunity as as a listener, go.
Yeah.
Absolutely go. Anywhere in the Central America area. And the number one question we get is like, well, is it safe?
it's so
I mean, did you feel unsafe while you were there?
I felt safer there than I do walking around.
You know what I mean? And it's so hard to explain to somebody that hasn't been there.
Well, we thought the same thing our first time going down. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
and then we got there and we're like, oh, yeah.
Well, I still remember that I asked Scott went down first before I went down there when we first started. And so when he got back, I was going down like, I don't know, 2 months later or something like that. And so when he gets back, I'm like, dude, so fucking, how was it? Like, what's the easiest way you can explain it to me? And he goes, it's like Iraq, but Catholic. No one's trying to kill you. He goes, but everything else is identical. Yeah.
Yeah, it really kind of is, and they have like their equivalent to a Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Esteli got its first McDonald's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Didn't get to go to that one.
They just got done with it when I was there. So, yeah.
Yeah, and he was there like a couple months. 2 months ago.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so like my first trip, like that was my mentality going into it. I'm like, oh, cool. And it just so happened that while I was there, I met a couple of guys that were from Iraq, like northern Iraq, and they were in the cigar industry. They were down there, just happened to be at the same time. And I told them what Scott said, and they're like, "No, it's not the same." And after we had the conversation about where they were from, and I've actually been to their hometown. We did some operations up in that area, and it was really funny because like I don't know, 4 or 5 days into the trip, we go into one of the little markets in town, open air, markets, everyone's selling veggies and all this stuff. And we start walking through, and one of the guys is like, "Oh, this reminds me of back home in Iraq." And I'm like, "I fucking told you."
Except they're Catholic and they're not trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting seeing all those little. It's amazing how many places sell motorcycle tires.
I know.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And there's the one right when you're coming into Esteli that it's just a little open air side thing. They're selling caskets.
Yeah.
And then you got people on the highway from Managua to Esteli. You got people selling birds and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Hammocks.
Monkeys. Yeah. I mean, you can literally buy almost anything you need on the side of a road. Just drive around. Eventually, you'll find the guy.
What I don't understand though is like you drive through one part and it's everybody's selling vegetables or the same thing, right? You drive through the next part, everybody's selling hammocks.
It's that car dealership mentality.
Yeah, everybody's selling cheese.
But I would like, why wouldn't you put the hammock like in the other town that sells veggies?
It's the car dealership mentality. So if you notice in any major town, right, their city, all the car dealerships are grouped together. They're in these little spots, right? Because people understand that if I go there, that's where I can get a car. Most cities where they have it, like the common name for that road is car dealership row or car, something, whatever.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. All the guys that sell the same shit, they group together because the people know that if they want to get X, they have to go here for that.
Right.
Yeah, you can compare one to the other. Without
I feel like it makes grocery shopping problematic.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I feel like you'd find like your whatever dude, like this is the guy I get watermelons from.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he's got the best watermelons out of the 13 people that are here. I'd have a guy for everything. But you need shoelaces? Hold on, we got to go down here. This guy's got great.
I did notice there was a cigar lounge just as you get into Esteli, a big cigar lounge.
Yeah.
I didn't stop, but I was like, huh.
You know what's funny is every time I've been down there, there's been a new cigar lounge that's popped up.
Yeah.
And it always goes out of business.
Yeah.
Because you got to think, everyone that's going there for like a factory tour, to work on new blends or do whatever, they're going to specific factories. They're getting cigars from those factories. And then that's really it. They go back to the hotel, they go to the bars, they go to dinners, they do whatever they need to do. And that, they're not going to go to a cigar lounge.
Yeah.
Like why? Why would they?
No, I agree.
In the locals, they can't afford cigars.
Right.
They're not cheap there.
They smoke cigars at work all day long.
They do.
Yeah.
And they don't have to pay $10 a piece.
But they're not going to spend their money on them.
No.
Yeah, but the excise tax in Nicaragua is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like American pricing if you want to buy cigars there, on the retail side. But yeah, so you always have these Americans that are just like, oh, you know what this place needs? It needs a good cigar lounge. And then they open it up and then they're like, fuck.
This guy spent a lot of money to go out of business because it looked like a pretty big one.
Every single one has. It blows my mind. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I've thought of it too. Like when I go to Roatan, Honduras a bunch to go scuba diving. And their biggest problem on the island is they can't get certain products, certain supplies. And essentially, if you want to get it, you either need to go through like a third-party shipper and then pay your imports on it, and it takes like a month. Or you got to convince a local store to order it, and then they pay the import and then whatever. And so I was talking to my buddy Nick, who lives down there, and I'm like, has anybody ever just like got an import license and like imported all the random shit people want? And they're like, bro, somebody tries every other fucking week. And he goes, then they go out of business 3 months later. You get 2 things that you wanted, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like everybody does it. All these expats are like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then they start it, and then they realize like, oh, this is why nobody does this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure they get into realize all the hurdles that you that aren't there in the United States.
Yeah.
Like having a physical address.
Oh my God. That's the best. Hey, where's this at? Oh, it's 3 streets to the west after this intersection before the church. There's no numbers or names. So like,
that's
what?
Crazy.
Why would you number or name a street? It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then they break it down. Like, if you really want to get like really accurate, then you get the ones that are like a half block past,
Right.
whatever. No, it's when we were trying to figure it out, like, how do I mail something to a factory in Nicaragua? You can't. There's no addresses. They don't have a postal service. You got to mail it to a port and have somebody go from the factory to the port to go pick it up.
Yeah. You just know somebody that's going and have them mule it there for you.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. It's funny. Like we use, we'll ship stuff to one of the band companies and have them ship it on a pallet because they do it all the time. It's like, here, what do you charge us to ship this to?
So I want a funny industry story, like whether, and you can like, this is the point in the show where you can kind of talk shit a little bit, but I want to find something funny, but don't leave names out. Just be like a shop, or whatever. But like any hurdles you've ran into or just funny things that you see on the road, because I know they happen. And
let me think.
Or anything you see like etiquette wise that like, hey, if you want to put something out there, like don't do this or do this or, is there anything that just stands out?
I'm trying to think. I'm probably on the opposite end of the story sometimes.
Even if you have a personal one, not about somebody else.
Oh yeah, I'll have to think about that for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll come back around to it.
All
Keeping the back and keep the wheel spinning.
Yeah, we run into some pretty random stuff.
Yeah.
When we travel.
Yeah. For me, it's like you have a shop or whatever. Like, for example, you have a shop like, oh, all your stuff's gone. It must, they look and they're like, oh, we haven't sold any in 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, it's all gone.
Yeah.
You have to order more in order to sell more.
Like stuff like that. It's like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that before where I've gone to somebody and they're like, well, I'll know the list. I can look and see when they placed an order 3 months ago for 8 boxes of cigars.
Right.
And they'll I'm like, hey, start a conversation. And they're like, they'll pull up the last month of stuff and be like, man, your stuff's just not, we've only sold 8 sticks in the last month. I'm like, yeah, that's because you sold 200 sticks in the previous 2 months.
Yeah. Those are the last 8 you had in inventory.
Yeah.
And it just drives me. I mean, there's one shop. I won't mention any names. Y'all probably too being in the Army. I love stuff to be organized.
Yeah.
And I remember one I went in, and it's not, but it's when they're humidor, and it was just complete chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, there was way too much inventory in there. It's way too many brands, way too many SKUs, and they would have stuff stacked like 3 high. But not 3 high of the same cigar, even the same brand.
Oh no!
Just like you might have this brand here.
It's like, we're gonna spot them. Gonna
this cigar from this brand, and it was just complete chaos.
And like you have some of your brand here, some over here, and some against this.
Yeah. I couldn't even find it. And they were like, "Hey, we have some of this." And I'm like, "Why is it there?
Right.
When this is there?" And but I couldn't. I had to get out because it was starting to give me a tick. And
you got like a little twitch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I gotta go.
So usually we do some questions. Justin, do we have any questions this week?
We do have a question. We have a question that came off of YouTube. They asked, can you describe the difference in verbiage you use? For instance, when you say strong and bold, are you referencing to the nicotine strength or flavor? Like, I like bold flavors, but not necessarily bold nicotine strength. Also, what the fuck is body?
So I would say when I say strength, I'm talking about nicotine. When I say bold, I'm talking about flavor. And body, I guess, would go more toward flavor.
Yeah. I think body is more like the intensity of the flavor.
Yeah.
Some cigars you smoke and the flavor is just like right up front, and you get a mouthful of flavor and it's very oily. And some cigars are a little more subdued.
Yeah.
And that's what I think body is. And if they think of flavor and strength and body, I think strength of nicotine content and body is the amount of flavor and how coating your palate that is and all that.
Because usually with body, you're like, is it mild, medium, or full body?
Yeah.
So you're talking about, it's kind of like, like this is like a good full bodied whiskey.
Yeah.
Or wine or, so you're talking about like, that flavor profile is coming through.
Right.
Like, is this like a big, huge punch me in the face flavor, or is this like it's subtle and I have to find what's in it?
Yeah.
You know, that's the mild medium.
See, now I would call this cigar a bold cigar.
Yeah.
And strength wise, it's probably medium plus
Yeah.
strength.
Yeah, definitely full body.
Yeah. There's a lot of flavor here.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Any other questions?
I believe that we have one more actually. Sorry. What advice would you give a new cigar smoker to get started? What things should a person buy for themselves in the first year? What's the first thing to upgrade? And where do we not skip out on money wise?
Ooh.
Oof.
That's a
Take
whole
notes.
Episode in itself.
Yeah, I would say take notes. Like if you buy cigars, you have to remember what you like and what you don't like. And then you
Yeah.
have to kind of compare your notes and figure out exactly. Because when you first start out, it's hard. It's hard to remember, like
Right.
what tobaccos you like because there's a lot of them.
But then again, though, you do have those people that have like a very unique memory, and they remember like every cigar they smoked,
Yeah, I can't.
and like tasting notes and every like. I'm pretty good, but I can't. Like, oh, well, I smoked my father, blah blah blah, and it's just like I think it's medium.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say just if you're brand new, try it everything.
Yeah.
Start don't even if you like something, don't stick to just that. Try other things and try all the different wrappers and try different brands and then start after a year or so just start narrowing that down to what fits your flavor profile.
Talk to your shop owners or whoever's running the humidor. Tell them you want a variety.
Yeah.
I think that would work. Don't waste your money on expensive humidors to get going.
No,
All you got to do is buy some
get a good
Boveda or some
fucking
Boost.
cutter.
And,
Yes.
yeah, get a
good fucking cutter.
get a good cutter.
Whether it's a guillotine or a V cut, whatever you prefer,
Yeah,
whatever it is, make sure get a good one.
yeah.
And a cheap lighter because you're going to lose an expensive lighter.
Or you're gonna fly somewhere and forget, and TSA is gonna take it. Like, yeah, your lighter doesn't. As long as it's butane, don't use a Zippo with lighter fluid ever for any reason. If that's the last thing you have on earth, fucking rub two sticks together, bro.
Yeah, but I saw somebody one time. They said that they were a new smoker. They were saving their bands in their wallet. And they had a collection of bands that were things that they liked, and a collection of bands of things that they didn't care for.
Yeah.
And they came in and they showed the person working. They were like, "These are ones that I've liked so far, and these are ones that I don't really care for.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Can you suggest something new for me to smoke?"
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to go about it.
It really is, because now it gives that the guy who's working the humidor, the girl who's working the humidor, a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, they're probably going to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the people working the humidor are pretty good.
If you tell me you smoke, typically you smoke these, 4 or 5 different brands, I can find you a cigar that you're going to love.
Yeah,
Because that it'll tell me generally, okay, this is kind of what you like.
yeah.
But yeah, it's tough to find a cigar for somebody when you don't know what they prefer to smoke.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to give somebody.
Yeah, like if we have somebody coming in here and they want to buy a gift for their friend who smokes cigars, I always tell them to get a sampler pack because, they're going to like something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't be afraid. Don't always think that cheap cigars are bad, and don't always think that expensive cigars are good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's not always the case. There are good expensive cigars. There are bad cheap cigars, but there are also the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also say one thing that I also do that I believe Scott gave me the advice on when I first started at Warfighter. He said, when you smoke a cigar, Google it. It's probably been reviewed. Look it up, and then
Yeah,
you
just see what's in it.
you can get all the what wrapper it has, where the tobacco is from, and then you can learn what you like from there. And so I still do that to this day. I'll pick up a cigar that I've never had before, and while I'm smoking it, I Google it, read a couple reviews, see what the info is on it. Now I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I know I like this, but that always helped me.
Yeah. And you can also, once you've been smoking a little while, there's plenty of YouTube reviewers and different things.
Yeah.
And you can figure out, I did the same thing with whiskey when I started getting into whiskey a few years ago. Find somebody, you can smoke something and watch a review, and you might pick up on a channel where somebody has a very similar palate to yours,
Right.
where they don't like stuff you don't like and they like stuff you like. And you see them smoking something that you haven't had before, go try it because you'll probably like it.
Yeah. My one of my favorite things to do now is when I walk into a shop is to find something that I either haven't had yet or haven't had in a while. You know, because like you walk in, you see all the normal stuff.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while you walk into a humidor and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like they either, yeah, that's new and I haven't seen it anywhere, or I haven't had this in like 5 years.
I picked up one and put it down the other day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this sounds good. And then I saw the price. I'm like, oh,
It doesn't sound that good, huh?
it doesn't sound that good. It was the Placencia Omatempe, but it was like $100.
Holy shit.
I was like, oh,
Wow.
packaging was awesome. I like Omatempe.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm not gonna find out for a while.
No, I think that's the actual retail for that cigar, if I remember right. I think I remember reading an article when they released it, and that was they're going to be proud of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've never had a Placencia though that I haven't really like. Yeah, there's been one, but it's just my preference because it's other people's favorites. So,
Right.
yeah. But
So what's your top 3 cigars do you like to smoke right now?
Right now,
Right now. Because they change.
Yeah. They change. So kind of my baseline for everything. Like I said, I've been a fan of Black Label since they first came out. So that was kind of my, even before I joined the company, that was 90% of what I was smoking came out of the factory. So, and the first Black Label I ever tried was the Last Right. So that's kind of my baseline for how I rate a cigar. So that's always going to be there. That's been my number one. But the other, I would probably say this. I've really been liking this.
this is a good one.
And then our latest core line just came out. It's Coffin Nails.
Okay.
And that came out it's about two or 3 weeks ago.
I was saying I haven't even heard of it.
I've been smoking 2 or 3 of those a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little 5x40 torpedo.
Okay.
Real interesting packaging. I can show you the packaging if you'd like to see it.
So now I get a question for you because you've been in the industry for a while and you smoke more than, 1 or 2 cigars a day. Do you find yourself like the one that they just released a couple weeks ago? Do you find yourself smoking that new release more than other cigars because it's new or because it's
Sometimes if I really like it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of our stuff that I like more than others. There's some things that I'm like, that's not really my thing, but it's still a good cigar. So yeah, maybe when it first comes out,
yeah.
I might smoke more just so I really know what it's about, even if it's not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just
You want to learn it.
doing my part, I got to know, what to be able to tell
Yeah.
people, in a shop if they're like, tell me about that one. I'd be interested. Just so I don't not get them.
You're like, oh, it's
That's not a
good.
complete
There's
idiot.
smoke and there's tobacco in it. And
It burns but yeah, I'm still kind of a real heavy, dark.
yeah.
That's kind of my profile. So stuff like this or the Last Rites, I still, even if I smoke something for a week or so, I can still kind of steer back to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What's your least favorite tobacco?
And it doesn't, we're not talking Black Label or Oveja Negra, just in
type
general.
tobacco.
I don't know because there's probably been tobaccos that I haven't had, unfortunately, but I'm not a real big, just straight medium kind of just straight Habano fan.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the darker, richer, kind of sweeter tobaccos.
Yeah.
When it's aged to Maduro and stuff like that. So, but it's weird but I don't like those middle cigars. But I really like a well done Connecticut.
Right.
So
right.
kind of either like it,
A Boulder,
or something.
Connecticut?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So either like something that is not really aged at all, or a leaf that's really aged.
Right.
Yeah.
Till it's like nice and dark
And so you said you kind of went down the rabbit hole in bourbons, right?
yeah.
So are you the same on bourbons? Do you like
Yeah,
more of the heavier, darker?
I'm a proof hound. I'm
Yeah.
a proof hound. Yeah.
Yep. Scott and I were talking, I think it was last week, the week before. We kind of both got to the same point in what we enjoyed smoking. And then we've our palates have kind of changed a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, we're a little different now. I like our Garrison line, which is our Boulder line.
Yeah.
And I think you smoke more of the
I smoke
fields.
more, the field's a little bit lighter stuff. But it's more recently within the last year or 2 years. because like for a minute it was like I need the boldest, heaviest, most full-bodied. I need how much nicotine can you throw in this thing, you know? And then it just for no real good reason. Like it's not like anything happened or something changed or I found a new favorite cigar or anything like that. I just started gravitating more towards the milder to medium bodied cigars. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you why. Like I just enjoy the flavor that I get out of the cigars better. Maybe I'm not looking more towards the strength. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's weird though. Because it used to be like we'd walk into a humidor and we'd both do laps and we'd go to the register and we'd have the same cigars. And it's just like, what the fuck? Now it's way different. You definitely don't have sometimes, but not all the time.
So for me, it's Candela.
Yeah.
And so I think I gave you a night shift, but that's the most Candela that I put it where you don't even have to smoke it. So,
And Candela's one of those, it's kind of one of those polarizing things. It can be done bad or it can be done really good.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think that, we have a couple of cigars that have Candela in them, and I think it's done very well.
Well, you don't use a lot of Candela.
No, I mean, some of our, like event-only cigars, the Neon Tiger
Right.
has, it's mainly Candela. It's
Oh, okay.
over half Candela. But I think it comes down to the blender being able to use Candela.
Yeah.
To understand how it
Yeah,
works.
doing the filler, to do the Candela justice.
Right,
I've smoked some Candelas even from other brands that I've really enjoyed. And I've smoked some that I was just, I take a couple of puffs and I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to smoke a green.
The
green
filthy hooligan.
Yeah, that one was oof.
I
But
can't smoke it. It's
What was that other one? The swamp thing.
oh, that one's
The Kentucky Fire Cure Candela.
Oh, I haven't had that.
You don't. It's not good.
Oh God! When that cigar got released, I think it got released at PCA. Fuck, I don't even know how many years ago at this point. But it was funny because we'd be hanging out, at the bar, at the casino bars, like we normally do at the shows. Except anytime somebody was making a bet on whatever it was, because there's a lot of shit talking that happens after the show. Between reps and other, brand owners and everything like that. And that year, the bet for any time that somebody was doing a bet was, okay, you're going to smoke that to the band. And people were like, oh, fuck, it's serious, like it was that bad.
Yeah.
Nope. I mean, I get it. There's
The thing about Candela is it looks awesome. Like it's a different color. It's very unique. It's like you can do some cool things with it. Yeah, it's just.
But it's like white Zinfandel for wine. I'm not going to go get a bottle of that. People drink the shit out of it.
Yeah.
They do. It's just not me.
And that's just one of the few things that's great about the cigar industry. There's something out there for everybody. I'm sure there's people that only smoke Candela.
Yeah, I know a couple actually. When I met them, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can say the same thing for the flavored or infused stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you can't argue sales numbers on those.
No.
So,
and it's the same thing with Candela. Like, clearly people enjoy it, or else it wouldn't be. You wouldn't see it in humidors.
What's your favorite and least favorite size of cigar?
My favorite is going to be right there in that Corona Gorda,
Yeah.
Lonsdale, up in that size, a good 42 to 46 ring gauge.
Yeah.
Just like to get, the most out of the wrapper of a cigar.
Right.
Yeah.
And but when you start getting into these, 70, 80,
100.
90 ring gauge things, I just can't do it. I can't smoke it with a straight face.
Well, it's you put your gay face on for that one.
And plus, I smoke a lot of cigars. I smoke,
I literally pushed the mic.
you knew it was coming.
I was about to say this. I'm like, nope.
but I smoke 4 or 5 cigars a day, and I don't want to smoke a cigar for 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. Anything bigger than a Toro, I have a hard time smoking it. Even sometimes the Toros, I just got shit I'm doing, and it goes out.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll always do relights on my cigars. It is what it is. But when I get to relight number 4, 5, 6, then it doesn't start tasting that good anymore. And I feel like I'll do it with double Coronas, anything 7 inches or bigger in length, or anything with a 60 or larger ring gauge.
See, I've had better luck with my 60s because they just seem to stay lit better longer.
Yeah.
And so I don't
can
know.
see that.
I smoke the occasional 660. I enjoy a 660. But
It's been a minute.
yeah, if I ever get like, you go to the trade shows and people trade cigars, if I ever get like a 770 or something, that's like a road trip, like I'm driving for 6 hours and okay, I'll get rid of this.
Well, that like I have blacked out tinted windows, so I don't want anybody seeing me smoke that cigar. Yeah.
No, but I just get, like, even if it's my favorite cigar, after an hour or so, I just want to change up change things up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to taste that same cigar for,
No.
2-3 hours.
That's a lot sometimes. We tried to do a couple of years ago. We tried to do the what are those called? Those big ass 3 foot long, the Woody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We were doing a pool day. So we're like,
we're like, we're only going to smoke one cigar the whole day, because those cigars are supposed to take like 6 hours or something like that. And but I think we ended up getting 5 total. Right? We had 5 people that were smoking, and not a single one of them burned right.
yeah, you couldn't even keep them burning.
Like we honest effort. Everybody tried.
Yeah.
But about 2.5 hours in, everyone's like, okay, let's get actual cigars that smoke. These are riding the struggle bus.
Yeah, well, I'm sure once you get to that size, it's hard to. It's going to be, you have more.
Well, it's not.
Yeah, there's more chances for the the bunching and stuff to have inconsistency.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the lady who owns the cigar shop in Tombstone?
Miss Suzanne.
Miss Suzanne. So I remember the one trade show we were like at one of our first trade shows. I remember her.
Yeah.
Because she stands out. She wears in like
They're all dressed up in
the
Western.
old Western
and
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And she was smoking a Woody.
Yeah.
Walking around the trade show. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Miss Suzanne.
Yeah.
They had a cool little shop. I don't know if you ever made it down to Tombstone, Arizona, but it's like an old Western town, and right on the main drag is their cigar shop, and they do cigars, cigar accessories, and then they have like a bunch of random kind of, I don't know, themed stuff that they also have, and then they have a gun store as well.
Yeah.
But it's old Western style firearms, like old revolvers and lever actions and stuff. Like you can't. You're like, oh, I need a Glock 19. They're like, no, you know what I mean? Like it's such a cool little place. Yeah. But her husband started it, and he was a big hat guy. So above on all the way around the whole shop is all his old hats. And so my first trip down there, we're hanging out bullshitting, whatever, like. And so Miss Suzanne's like, hey, she's like, come with me. And I'm like, okay. And so she walks me across the street to her friend owns a store across the main drag. And she goes, everyone that comes and sees me has to have a cowboy hat. And I was like, I'm not a cowboy. I don't have a cowboy hat. And she's like, well, we're going to fix that today. And she took me across the street and bought me a cowboy hat. And she goes, but now every time you come here, you have to bring this and wear it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, deal. So I got to plan another trip back down there with my hat.
I've only been to Arizona once. Last year for PCA. My wife went with me and we drove from Ruffles to Las Vegas. So
Oh, okay.
we cut across, New Mexico and Arizona. We went the southern route there and then kind of the northern route back. So we got to see a lot of neat things. And I'd looked at Tombstone, but it was just too far out of the way to make it worthwhile.
So you guys took I-10 out there, right?
Right. We
And
took
then
I-40
I-40
back.
back.
Yeah, we went all the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
up and then cut up to Phoenix and up.
So that trip, once you get to Phoenix and that drive from Phoenix to Vegas,
It's amazing.
right? It's 4 hours. And you're on like a little 2-lane road going through a bunch of little towns. And then you hit the Hoover Dam, which if you blink, you'll miss it now because that bridge cuts off like 2 hours of travel time. So when I lived in Arizona, we used to get I rode motorcycles. We used to get really bored at night. And so we'd do a round trip ride to Vegas for speed, right? It's time. And your timestamp to let you know when you got to Vegas and that proof that you actually got there is you have to go on the strip. You have to go to a casino on the strip. Anyone, doesn't matter. And you have to bring back a losing ticket that's time stamped, because they print out the date and time when they print your ticket, right? So you go, you put $20, you gamble, you cash out, get back on your bike, and drive back. And so in a car, it's about a 4.5 hour-ish drive. And we got it down to about 2 hours, 20 minutes. It's insane. But it's so much fun. Yeah, and then that trip back on I-40, that just sucks. There's nothing up there.
Well, when I took Darren out to California, I took that from Vegas to like San Francisco, but I took the scenic route through the mountains and shit.
Yeah.
What a great drive.
You went up by Reno, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I highly recommend that drive. That was such a cool drive.
Yeah.
Now that drive from between Phoenix and Vegas, that winding highway.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Because of the mountains. That's
Yep.
one of the prettiest drives I've ever done.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I've done Vegas to Salt Lake, and that was pretty cool too.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a neat trip. It was neat driving. We did, and we took our time. We took 3 days to get there and 3 days to get back. And
That's the way to do it.
we went and saw all the national parks that are in Arizona.
Oh, cool.
So we went to Saguaro National Park. And
Yeah.
we went to the Grand Canyon, and we went and saw the meteor crater out there. And
Yeah.
so-
That's one of
Big
the coolest
home ground.
things.
yeah.
I thought that was cooler than the Grand Canyon.
You know,
Awesome.
it's so cool that they had that meteor hit right next to that building.
Yeah.
The building survived. It's insane.
Just barely, but it survived.
Yeah. No, it's pretty interesting because everyone's like, oh, if I went through Arizona on the way home and I went on I-40. Like, oh, did you stop the meteor? It's like you want me to stop at this big hole in the ground? Like,
I thought it was cool.
but it's really cool. It really is. Yeah. No, there's some really cool shit in Arizona. A lot of like old Western history type stuff. One of the I lived in Phoenix for like 8 years, and one of the coolest things, you're going on I-17 north out of Phoenix, and you pass an exit, and it's called Horse Thief Basin, or no, Horse Thief Canyon. And then you just got to think, because you're like driving on I-17, there's nothing up there, so you're just thinking, and you're like, man, like, how'd that get that name?
That was the way.
You know what I mean?
I just got back from Montana, and that's the way that was too.
Yeah.
It was like, Horse Thief Road, or
It's like, some shit went down here back in the day.
Yeah, but I think some of the prettiest areas in this country are people wouldn't know unless they've been or in the desert.
Yeah.
I think the desert's beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. Except for West Texas.
Well, just according to which part, because I mean, like I drive to El Paso, several times a year. I-10 in between, is it Fort Stockton?
Yeah.
In between there and on I-10, in between there and El Paso, I think it's amazing. You get out into the mountains and it's just broad and you can drive 85 miles an hour.
Right.
No traffic. Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's just sprawled out and you see the mountains on either side out in the distance.
Yeah.
Now, going from Dallas to El Paso is a different story.
Yeah.
That's not the same.
No, not even close. Not even close.
Yeah, in fact, I'll be making that drive next week.
Nice. So you're in San Antonio this week. Do you have any events coming up?
Yeah, we'll have an event up in, like I said, I just live in New Braunfels, so
Yep.
I'm a local guy. Yeah, I have an event coming up on the 31st of this month in Amarillo,
Okay.
Amarillo Cigar Company.
Nice.
So it's a fairly new shop. They've been around about, this is coming up on a year.
Yeah.
Around a year. Real nice people out there, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Cool.
That'll be a week from Saturday.
Okay.
Cool.
And yeah, just a few more coming up the rest of the year.
Nice.
Keeping me busy.
Oh, yeah. And then you're El Paso next week, you said? Or
Yeah, I'm going to go through El Paso. I'm going to make a big circle up through, Midland, Odessa area and El Paso, then cut up through New Mexico on my way to Amarillo. Just make a big circle at all of West Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Where can the listeners find you on social media? If you want them to.
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. It's Black Sheep Jody on Instagram, BLKSHP_Jody
Nice.
at Instagram.com. And it's just Jody Hately on Facebook.
Cool. And then where do they find the cigar brand?
OvejaNegraCigars.com.
Okay. And then it has all the links and everything on there. And,
Yeah,
and
it is.
we'll link it in the description of the episodes and stuff too.
Yeah, that's kind of the link to our factory. So, and then it has links to all 4 of the brands that come out of the factory
Yeah.
and their merchandise and everything else.
And you guys have a dealer locator on there?
Yep.
They can find where
dealer
all the shops are
locator,
carried?
dealer locator, event locator.
Cool.
It's a list of all the events coming up the rest of the year.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Well, cool. Appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
And doing this.
Hey, absolutely. Love to do it again.
Anything else you want to tell everybody before you go?
Something I can think of.
Sweet. Well, go check out Oveja Negra Brands. Go check out Jody's social media if you're in the Amarillo area on the 31st. Don't forget to check out his event. Sorry, I'm just getting a little bit more whiskey so I can cheers everyone. And yeah, so other than that, we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to another episode. Hopefully you learned something. And if you have any questions for us, for Jody, or just anything in the cigars in general, put it in the comments somewhere and we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cheers, guys. Jody, thanks
Thanks very much.